Hey, good morning. It's been a little while since we have talked, and I wanted to give you all some business updates to kind of put things in perspective for the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. As far as Main Street Antiques and Uniques, the Las Panioli, uh, the fine art and antiques, high end investment grade collectibles, all the way down to some depression era glassware, whatever. If most of you have been watching my channel so far, you kind of understand what I'm getting at. uh, Most of the resale YouTube channels that you want, they really specialize in clothing or flipped electronics from thrift stores, what have you. The way that I approached it, and this is only about maybe a year old or so, is that I linked up with or partnered up with an antique business that was brand new. They were fresh out of the box. They hadn't done really antiques before, except for maybe buying a few things here and there over the years that they liked. But they had just built or started a brand new antique business, antiques, collectibles, unique gifts, etc. And they really didn't have any online presence. And I know I'm kind of repeating myself from past episodes, but to kind of put it all in perspective, they had no real online presence. Of course, I walked in, talked to them about it, took that over. I usually would charge somebody, a fee, like I've done in the past for small businesses, for, getting their social media marketing up, getting online sales together on various, platforms. But in this case, because I'm really into more high-end investment grade collectibles, and of course I like to collect antiques and things like that, art. I kind of wanted to marry the two ideas and do for trade. So I offered to do all of those things for them. And my trade with them was to have a space in their brick and mortar storefront where they would not charge me any commissions or charge me any consignor fees or anything of that nature. That I would just get a space, it would be free, and we would do business with each other from there. Well, eventually COVID-19 hit, as everybody knows, in March of 2020. So when we had to close the storefront, now I had been with them since October of 2019. So since COVID hit and we had to close the storefront, like everybody else at that time, I had talked to them previously about possibly getting a warehouse, because at that time they had 3 or 4 storage units or something of that nature. Plus the second floor of their storefront, the majority of that was taken up by storage also. So they got the idea around, I guess, March, April, bought a warehouse, 2,000 square feet, and we filled that thing up quickly. And I started putting everything online. I built them an eBay store and an Etsy store, which they already had an eBay and Etsy shop established, but it wasn't doing anything. They barely had anything listed. Number one, because they didn't have time and they were counting on somebody to do that for them who really had no idea what they were doing. And me coming from a background of that exact thing, had been working on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Etsy and eBay and everything else in between for years, taking that part of the business over, I started listing, 50 to 100 things a day starting in April 2020. And they just started paying me as an employee, basically, an hourly wage. And I kept getting better and better and better. Sales were great. Even in the first couple months, sales were great. We were actually selling large pieces of furniture, and there were people sending their own shipping companies to pick it up and take it to New York, I think, and Las Vegas, California. Anyway, to kind of bring this all forward, the overhead that they were paying for this historical property in Grapevine is pretty big. And the store itself was definitely not supporting what they were paying for the overhead. Of course, I had the idea from the very beginning that you would probably get away from the whole storefront thing and go to strictly an online business, but open the warehouse for people to come visit and buy, maybe by appointment only or on a regular basis. Of course, you wouldn't have the charm of an old 110-year-old historical home, but unfortunately, if you don't own the property and the overhead is high and it's not supporting the overhead, it's just as painful as it is to make that decision to close it. There's really no business benefit to it in this kind of environment, in this situation with the economy and with everything going on in politics and COVID and everything else. So it just made sense to close that. So December 31st, the end of the year, was our last day. And at the same time, we ran out of room in a 2,000 square foot warehouse, so we are moving into a 3,000 square foot warehouse. Now, if I take combined sales of eBay and Etsy over the last 90 days or so, we're averaging now this is gross profit, not necessarily net, $10,000 a month. Okay, so for a business that's about a year old, an online business about a year old, building an online presence, doing about $10,000 a month for the last 90 days, and most of that's because of the holiday season, the Christmas season, and we made some really good buys on some Christmas type items. So everything just kind of came together at the right time, and we are now, not only are we moving into a 3,000 square foot warehouse, which should be open to the public by the end of February, and starting the year off right, and things are still cha-chinging on eBay and Etsy. We're still selling Christmas themed items like crazy. I'm talking about Department 56 stuff mostly, and a few other things but along with that, a lot of art, antiques, collectibles, that kind of a thing. So as of right now, I probably have, with that business, sorry for the light, looks like the light's really got me washed out. My cell phone does not want to adjust, but I'm not that white. Pretty white, but not that white. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So with the sales being where they're at, and we're in the process of moving out and into a bigger warehouse. And not only are we continuing on, of course, with the art and antique collectibles, uniques kind of a business, we are also expanding, but playing on that same theme, expanding our inventory to include something that I'm, really well versed in and have been working in since 2001, and that is rare coins and precious metals. So, and along with that, as most people know that understand that market, are high-end certified rare comic books, rare sports memorabilia, autographed cards certified, by the various companies. Pop culture, rock and roll related items, music related items, paintings, artist sells. And the list kind of goes on and on. And other ideas that we have for the future is an auction, like a physical auction, if things ever get back to normal as far as COVID. So having a physical auction in our warehouse, and really catering to interior designers more than anything. We're going to expand into vintage clothing and just about anything that you could think of in the collectibles, antique, rarities market. A very, very good guideline for me is pretty much, if you're familiar with online heritage auctions, and how many different items and things that they deal in, as far as from an auction standpoint, they don't own those things. They just, provide an auction for buyers and sellers, dealers, and then of course they take their cuts and that. So anything that they basically deal in plus some, that's what we're going to deal in the physical product. As crazy as it may sound, we want to be the Amazon of antiques and collectibles, because Amazon itself, what a great business model Jeff Bezos had created, but really you can't really buy antiques and collectibles. To a certain degree you can, but it's very, very controlled and very hard to do on to buy things like that from Amazon or other online marketplaces besides eBay. But we are creating an out of the warehouse antiques collectibles business that's 99% online. In the last 90 days we've been shipping 10, 15, 20 boxes a day out to people. We've got one person working the shipping, and they could barely keep up with it. So it's really been going, or it's really going like gangbusters. Now, of course, that's the Christmas rush. Is it going to be like that all year? No. There, the color changed. It takes a big dip in the summer. Everybody knows that sells online. But we are presently also coming off such a successful sale in boxed Department 56 dead stock items. We are actively looking for, not necessarily art and antiques or what have you, but we're looking for large boxed, sealed, dead stock inventory to buy. And it doesn't matter if it's a coffee maker or what have you. If it's dead stock inventory, If it's sealed and you have a decent amount, we're looking to buy it. So if you're out there and you have something like that and you're local in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex kind of area, send me a note, send me a message or what have you, and we'll see what we can do. Of course, we're looking for deals like everybody else would, buy in wholesale. But anyway, that's kind of an update to what's going on. I'm actually on the way out to the warehouse now to do some more listing. I think I listed about 40 things yesterday, and just from that little listing party, things are selling already. So anyway, that's kind of an update about what's going on, and thought I'd check in. It's been a little while. Of course, we went through the holiday season and the election season, and gosh, who knows what's going to happen. But hopefully we still have a free society to buy and sell and trade like normal. Who knows? But as of right now, things are going well for us financially. I mean, it's not enough to become a millionaire, but we're actually getting in the last quarter of the year. We're getting into more of the business producing a six-figure range, and with the taking on of precious metals and rare coins, which will be a branch, probably Main Street Rarities in name, a DBA, that should really boost our profit margin quite a bit. Something I'm very, very familiar with and been dealing with for years, and actually have traded hundreds of thousands into the millions of those type of items. So talk to you soon. Hopefully I'll have another episode coming up here quickly, and these types of driving out to the warehouse business videos with tips here and there and updates of how we're doing things will become more and more frequent. So we'll talk to you soon and give you more updates in the future. See you later.